Welcome to Remembering Your Oneness with Xane Daniel and Monika Kupiec, where we know everything, and so do you. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
So, how many episodes is this now? What are we on? Is this 19? Is this 18?
Could be 18 or 19.
Wow.
I think I saw 17 last week.
Okay, yeah, okay, so it must be 18. Well, this is like...
We're almost at the 20 mark. 20 milestones.
Right.
Almost.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this is like the first time that I've actually ever promoted the show, really. Like, normally I just kind of just let it happen. And then if somebody notices it, then great. But I don't know, did you see the email that I sent out to the mailing list? I actually talked about this in the email.
Oh, I didn't. I saw the email. I didn't scroll all the way.
Right. Yeah, I talk about it at the very top, which proves that you don't read it, and then I talk about it again at the bottom with links and things for people to show up. And already we've got a bigger number than we normally have after 1 minute of being on. Nice. So thank you everyone for coming. Welcome. Yeah, and we would love it if you send us some comments, say hello to us. We will say hello back because we are nice peoples.
Let us know where you're from too.
Yeah. So, okay. So what today's video is all about the 5D society, 5D consciousness, and how we get those things confused a lot, I feel like. So there's a lot of times when we're going like, oh, I want to get away from this 3D world and I want 5D to happen. And so one way, 5D, we think of in that way as the 5D society, that we think of it as, okay, so the problems will mostly go away. We won't be abusing each other anymore. We will be in unconditional love instead of fear and all of that. And this video was talking a little bit about, well, actually, you have the ability to be in 5D consciousness right now. You don't have to wait for some sort of transition. You don't have to wait for the spirit guides to come to earth and change everything. You don't have whatever you picture for that. You don't have to wait for it. You actually have access at the moment. So that is the kind of the focus of the video. But at the same time, I really like the idea of putting together like a list of all the things, because we often focus on what's wrong with the 3D world, and that's why we want to go to the 5D. Like, get me out of this place. I'm tired of the abuse, and I'm tired of the pain and the suffering and the people that have to work all day, every day, 40 hours a week plus, and on and on and on. Like, there's all kinds of reasons why we go, this sucks, so I want 5D. But actually, I wanted to bring us to it in a more positive way through envisioning what it might actually be like, rather than what we're running from. It's like what we're moving toward, and that is the way to manifest, right? You don't focus on what you don't want. We all know that. We want to focus on what we do want.
That's good. You're linking back to one of our other videos about manifestation.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yes, hello Maria and Sherazan. Oh, I wonder if I'm saying that right. Sherazan. There's
this
some great.
Hi, Shez here. So
Shez. Oh, Shez. Shez. Yeah, I like Shez. Okay, we'll do that. Of Cape Town. Now, Cape Town's in Africa. Yeah. Right. All right. We both got it right, I think. She can tell us if we got it wrong. So anyway. What do you think of, Monika, when you think of a 5D society or even like a utopian society? What do you picture?
It's a very good question. I feel like I don't really spend too much time imagining what it would look like, only because not that I like living in the present moment, but I feel like just being super present and aware of your surroundings and I guess your connection with your intuition, that everybody would have that. So I guess that would be a 5D society. In my idea is that people would honor their needs before giving to others more. So it would be more of like a receiving type of society.
Honor
That
their needs. Oh, others' needs, you must
no,
mean.
no, no.
Oh,
Honor their own needs. So honoring yourself before you put someone else first.
interesting.
So that
Okay.
way you're actually not like in a egotistic way, where like it's like where it's needy or it's selfish, but more like a wholehearted, like I'm going to take time for myself and you're going to respect that. And because you're also going to take time for yourself.
Self-care.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what you're talking about there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
sure,
yeah,
self-care.
yeah, it's kind of interesting because one of the things that I actually picture about our 3D society often is the selfishness and the we've got to make money for ourselves and we got to step on whoever's in our way to get there. So we have to be very careful about how you distinguish that because it could easily be seen the wrong way. But there's also a huge swath of society that doesn't do self-care, that doesn't take care of themselves, that doesn't honor themselves like you're talking about, and then they just give, and they're really missing out on something because they're not respecting themselves. They're trying to respect everybody else first, and I think that might be kind of what you're talking about.
It is exactly, yes. It's
Yeah,
also a big stem of self-love.
right, exactly. Okay. Yeah, so of course I always say, unconditional love is the dominant emotion in a 5D society. So if we've
Mhm.
got if right now fear is, so we're worried about getting our next job or making enough money or about what's wrong with our leadership and our politicians and all of that sort of stuff. And so instead, to be in a state of unconditional love, unconditionally loving all exactly as everything is the path to this. And this is what I talk about in the video too.
Mhm.
But it is the path because if you are in a state of unconditional love, then you are always in an enlightened state. That is what enlightenment is. It's unconditional love. So I want to also propose this to our viewers. Please throw in the chat there whatever it is that you picture when you think of what this 5D world, what this 5D Earth, what this 5D society would look like. And just by saying the word Earth, I immediately think of this lush and beautiful world, right? So there's plenty of fertilization in the soil. We haven't stripped it all. We haven't mined it all of its richness. And so all kinds of diversity, like biodiversity, is possible because the earth is extremely healthy.
Mm.
What else you got?
I would say, just going with the earth is extremely healthy, I would say no more zoos. No more
Right.
zoos or
Sure.
places where like people, inhabit animals so they're
Right.
not free.
Right. Yes. Disbanded. Yeah. So like yeah, and so it's a little bit like, interestingly, you're saying what we don't want, right?
Mhm.
So we're but another way to say that is that all animals are free. So that then incorporates what is that called? Corporate farming. Um, and that's not the right word, right? What's the word for corporate farming? Factory farming is eliminated, so all animals are free. They are not being harvested, they are not being abused, they're not being all the horrible things that we do to animals.
Mhm.
And I would think that in this 5D experience you would not need to consume meat. You probably wouldn't need to, and if we did want to consume meat, we would probably come up with some other way to make it so we're not actually injuring or harming anything.
Well, I wouldn't go completely that route. I would maybe go back like in the olden days when like you have a farm and you have happy cows and happy animals, and when it's time to kill them, you kill them nice. You kill them, in
Yeah,
a
it's possible.
more in like a conscious way. So it's kind of like moving back to how things used to be versus like mass produced. Because I feel like if you are more in a more of an unconditional love state, then you probably won't crave meat as much. But there's nothing wrong with eating meat, in my opinion, just because I feel like some bodies do need that
I
that
think that
source.
I think in the 5D society, we will be pulling from the unlimited energy resources of the universe, and we actually won't even need to eat at all. But that's
There
a
you go.
completely different topic in a way. So it could be that we still try to do that because it's enjoyable or it's interesting or it's, hearkening back to our 3D selves.
It's a luxury item.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like a strawberry. Oh, this is so delicious. I love how the juices run off my chin. Right.
Well, it's kind of like in the Matrix, where I think it was the Matrix, where they were just eating like oatmeal, but it had everything that they needed in there. So maybe that's like, I feel like that's like beyond 5D, where you don't even need many substances to
Right. Yeah.
survive.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So we've got some from our chat. So thank you for showing us these, Patrice and Maria and Nate. So unconditional love and no judgment. I actually just added no judgment to unconditional love, and because again, I don't want to talk about what we don't have. I want to talk about what we do. So, but that's great. Collaboration, freedom, intuition, love, heart-based. Okay, so collaboration is huge. And so this kind of teamwork mentality, this kind of we all would have more of a unified goal, because we would the disagreements would be considerably less painful or problematic, because unconditional love is our goal, helping each other is our goal, creating lushness and beauty and fantastic and art and all that. Those things would be our goals, and so we probably wouldn't have as much conflict, because you're not trying to say, well, there shouldn't be illegal aliens in our land, right? Like, that's gone because all we want to do is care for each other. All we want to do is make sure everybody has everything that they need to survive, all the food that they need, all the shelter, whatever. Even if we might not even need that, because again, we're pulling from the unlimited energy resources of the universe. This transition from 4D to 5D is it could potentially be very extreme, but we'll still pull in some of our 3D-ness and our 4D-ness into this 5D, because I think it's a little bit easier for us to get our heads wrapped around. But yeah, collaboration and teamwork, absolutely, and it would be beautiful. Let's see, what else do we want to do here? Okay, so Nate is talking about what we don't want again. So less of a focus on superficial ego. Oh, I should put this on the thing. Less of a focus on superficial ego-driven things like celebrities, material items, hoarding money, that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't think it would, so what's the positive of that? The freedom from the material.
Well, that's like it's mainly just saying everybody is equal versus someone is better than the other. So
Yeah,
we wouldn't have celebrities if we didn't have movies, or we didn't have, I guess, social media to praise people for
right.
whatever they are. So it's like, it could be like
Really good
eliminate.
point.
Say that again.
I said it's a really good point. Keep going.
Yeah, so it's like eliminating the likes or the followers of people, and just seeing everyone as equal, and everyone's just telling their voices or telling their
Yeah.
message through.
Mhm.
And movies, it would be a different praise, because celebrities are really known for their money, or how much money they're actually making from
Or how
videos.
beautiful they are, or
Yeah.
what a great actor they are, or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they're kind of worshipped. So I think that celebrities should still exist, because, like you said, I don't want to lose movies. I don't want to lose entertainment. I want to still go to a play or go to some sort of performance,
Mhm.
or whatever like that. I think it would be very good. So I don't think it's the celebrities that are bad, but it's the worship of them, maybe, that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
So
So
it's the worshiper needs to have a more unconditional love, or more of seeing the person as as who their gifts are, because these celebrities have a gift of memorizing these lines and becoming this role. Because
Right.
I for sure can't remember a line to save my
No,
life.
no, agreed.
Sometimes when I have a script to say for my like little YouTubes, I'm like, I can't remember what I'm supposed to say, or I have
Oh
to do
yeah.
like 20 takes before I get my little intro, 2-second intro correct.
Right.
So like they definitely have like their gifts. So I feel like it's living your life purpose,
Yeah.
and maybe the whole money distribution would be different. Where I don't know, like maybe the the 5D government, you know, sends out money for everyone.
Okay.
So nobody lacks money, and then everybody has everything at an abundance of in their reach.
Right. Okay. So self-leadership, I think, is kind of a first step here, and somebody else is starting to talk about this too. Let's see. Somebody said self-government. So, you know, so and that is kind of what we're talking about when it comes to this, because the reason that you need leadership is because everybody doesn't have the same goals. They don't have the same problems. And so when we move into more of a 5D society, those things are going to align more. We're going to have the same unified problems, and we're going to be more in tune with what everybody wants. So I believe that what also happens in a 5D experience is that telepathy and empathy and those spiritual gifts become more dominant. And it might even be to the point where we don't actually have to talk all that much, that we are just more of a collective. We start moving into the human collective, just like the Pleiadian collective or the Arcturian collective. So, and when that starts to happen, then we definitely need less of that leadership and management, and you've got to do this and you should do that, and we can't do this and you have to punish people for that. Most of that stuff is going to start to go away, if not completely be eliminated, because of that whole unconditional love is the base emotion, honor of self, and really honor of others, and no judgment. Wow, you know, now we don't need so much of that stuff. And that actually brings me to, do we need money? Do we even need some sort of currency? I don't know if we really do, because everybody's needs are going to be provided for. Everyone's needs provided for. So the only reason we have money right now is because we believe that we're in a scarcity society. Even though we're not, we could completely create everything that everyone needs right now, today, if we decided to. If Elon Musk said, I will give, you know, whatever, $1 billion to every company, to a company that feeds all the people on the earth. I don't know if the number's right, but some, whatever the number is, to make it profitable. Do you know how fast that would get done? That there would be so much competition to create all the food necessary for all the world, that it would be done in, like, you know, a month, and everyone would be fed. And as long as that money continued to come in, we would continue to do that. So that just shows really how powerful we are. It's amazing how powerful we are, but because we still believe in this scarcity-based society, we believe that it's not possible, and it's just our belief system. So when we move into a 5D society, our belief systems change so much that we just go, well, no, yeah, of course we're going to provide everything that everybody needs. Why wouldn't we do that? That's just a silly counter thought. Well, why wouldn't we? We can, so we'll just do it. So that, I think, starts to eliminate then the need for money. But what I often think of when we go that route is we go, okay, well then, what about if we wanted to create incredible art? And that's what I want to see, is just unbelievable, grand art. Like, what if we decided to make like these incredible statues of, you know, beautiful, incredible angels or beings of light, or, you know, whatever it is that we just absolutely adore. What if we decided to make them larger than skyscrapers? What if we wanted to make huge sculptures that, you know, just part of the landscape in this beautiful and amazing way. Well, how are you going to do that unless you had a whole bunch of people that also wanted to do it? Okay, like, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to do that, but I also love doing all this other cool stuff that I'm doing. So now the incentive isn't there necessarily to dedicate enough people, enough talented and skilled people to actually create something like that. And so that's where that's the positive of this like capitalistic approach, because you create an incentive. So maybe in a 5D society, we're going to have an all new type of incentive program. And it isn't money. It's something else that maybe our little 3D minds can't come up with at this moment.
Yeah. Oh, Patrice said that education, which takes into account the students' talents, gifts, and natural skills. So that's it's kind of exactly what you just said. It's honoring their gifts and helping them explore their gifts versus teaching them, pointless math problems that they probably won't ever need. And then it's not forcing them to do a certain sport if they don't want to, but it's really asking them what is it that you're gravitating towards, and it will help them further explore their gifts.
Absolutely.
Or and at least getting more in tune with their intuition and learning how to use your intuition. Maybe more time for like meditation, for inner like, what are they called? Like inner exploration per se.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. And at the same time too, we do still want to ask people to do things that are a little bit outside of themselves, because they might discover that they really love it. So it isn't all, it's like, well, I'm not totally sure. Okay, well then try these 5 things, and whichever one really resonates with you is your thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just that now I feel like a lot of children, they're shunned away from what they really want to do or pursue, just because parents have a certain expectation for them. So I think it's not about getting them out of their comfort zone, but it's also just listening to them. I feel like that's more important in a 5D society, is that everybody's heard. And I don't know if you're thinking of a 5D world without an ego, but I feel like ego is still going to exist in a 5D world. But it's about learning how to cope with your ego and not letting your ego win per se.
Yeah, it's starting to disappear, if not gone. But if it's still there, yes, it will be a factor. And somebody just recently wrote to me and they said, "Oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm getting over this issue in my life, and I'm getting over this issue in my life." And then they said, "But man, one of the issues that I got to try to figure out is my ego." And for some reason, I wrote back and I just said, "Well, actually, your ego is a gift also." And it's mostly, I said that because if you have anxiety over the fact that you have an ego, then you're causing yourself more problems than you really need to cause. So why don't you go ahead and look at your ego as a gift? If you start to look at your ego in a positive way, that it is a beautiful aspect of being a human, then all of a sudden you're going to surround it with very positive emotional experiences and feelings. And so if you do that, now I think you start to become more aware of it. If you can love it or appreciate it or whatever, then it's probably going to become more clear to you that you are acting in an ego-based way. And when you do that, then you'll go, "Oh, okay, so now I do appreciate it, I do love it, but is that something that I want to continue to do?" So instead of looking at it like this icky thing that you don't want anymore, then you're surrounding it with lower vibrational emotions. Maybe you're frustrated by it, or you're disappointed in it with others or whatever. If you start to look at it in a positive way, it might start to reveal itself more to you, and then you can handle it. So I would see that as very important in the 5D society, that we would, even if we still did have some ego, we would look at it in a very positive way, with an unconditional love, no judgment kind of way, and go, okay, this is a cool aspect of myself, and it still keeps me as an individual. I'm not 100% a part of the human collective. I still have some individuality.
It's fair.
So I like Julie's here is really cool because she's totally right. A lot of these animals would not exist if we were not eating them. They should have happy lives, happy days, and only one bad day. Yep, I like that. Because the slaughter will be humanely done. Sure. And I wonder if, there's a weird angle to this, which is, well, there are an awful lot of extra lives as a result. Is that a bad thing? There's a lot of extra lives. Yes, they're being tortured, sort of, right? They're not having happy lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting ultimately, because what I'm saying right there is I'm judging. Is it bad that we have all these things? I'm trying to determine if it should be judged as bad. And it's very easy for us to say, well, yeah, it's bad. Those things are suffering. Like, why would we want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's just lots of humans that are suffering. There's lots of suffering that happens here on this paradise planet. Is that bad? And if you look at the metaphysical soul contract way, the answer to that is no. That's what you signed up for. That's what you wanted to experience. That's what we as Source wanted to experience. So we shouldn't necessarily judge it. But anyway, I completely agree with Julie. Otherwise, it just took me down that path, and I just had to throw it out there.
Fair.
All right, let's see. Okay, so now this is Maria's envision of a 5D society, I believe. Many people are living on light. Already people are living on light. Okay. Everybody could do that in the future if they wanted. Okay. You don't want to. Yeah, she wants chocolate and berries. I agree. Okay, so living on light. That's an interesting phrasing. Now, I think of a breatharian when you say that. Are you familiar with breatharians, Monika?
No.
Have you heard of Wim Hof? Is it Wim Hof? I think I'm saying it right.
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. That's it. And yeah. You've obviously heard of it. So what he's doing.
I just did one of his yesterday.
Oh, okay, cool. So that is a breatharian. Wim Hof is the founder of the breatharians, and that is living off of just breathing, where you don't have to eat anything. I don't even know. Do you drink anything? I forget. If I haven't done my research on that in a while, but that might be sort of what she's talking about by living off of light.
Mm. Perhaps.
What else do we have here? Okay, so Julie shared environmental farming link. Thank you, Julie, for all the Facebook folks. They can click on that. There's no way I'm putting that in the window. No one would be able to type that in. Okay. Here's another one from Maria. There's a really interesting book about a woman walking through the desert in Australia with a group of Aborigines. Yeah, they were living in total harmony with nature and used their intuition and was communicated with telepathy. Okay, I hadn't heard of that. That's really fascinating. You're going to have to tell us the name of that book. I would like to know more about that. Yes. Okay, here we go. Sports. Yeah, sports. What an interesting thing. Really, competition in general is so interesting because what's happening in competition? You're trying to prove through statistical analysis of some kind, whether it's points or being there first or whatever, that you're better than someone else.
Mm.
And so there's some real lower vibe kind of, there's some ego in that, right? Like, why do we need to prove that we're better than someone else? It makes us feel good. Why? Well, if you think about it, our survival characteristics were all about it. That's how we survived, is to be better than the thing that's trying to eat us or whatever. So we come about it naturally, but it does seem like that would start to fall away in a 5D experience. And then, would it be for fun? All sports would be for fun, not a competition. But would it then still be fun if we didn't have that drive to be better?
Yeah, I like what Nate just said. He said, I feel like competition brings people together. It's all love. Because what about all the people that are watching in the stadium?
Right.
You get
I
hurt.
love that. I love that aspect. That's what I've always loved about sports, is going to 60,000 people that are all screaming for the same thing to happen. And when it does, they turn to perfect strangers and they high five the heck out of each other. And it's just this unbelievable feeling of absolute love. That's why I love going to sporting events.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like it could be a different twist on the meaning of competition. That you'll still have games and you'll still have events, but maybe the outcome would be different, or at least people's mindset would be different. That it wouldn't be like an ego-driven win, but more of like a love-based win, where I just feel so good in this moment doing this, and I just want, I don't know. I feel like your mental talk would just be different when you're in the zone of being in a competition. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like if you can play a board game with some friends and you really honestly don't care if you win or not, but the game itself is just fun.
It's just being fun and having that laughter, that playfulness come through more, instead of being frustrated. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I feel like even now myself, I love playing games. I love to laugh, but it's not like my ego is being driven by it to win per se. Maybe there is a small hint of it, but I feel like it's like after it, I don't really care to praise it, or I don't care to put it on my wall or something like that I won a board game or that I won something.
Right. First place in my friend's board game. I got a statue.
Yeah. And like, I'm also thinking like, well, if there's no like ego, or if there's no competition, then what would be your drive in life? What's a 5D society drive? Like what are you trying to attain, or what are you trying to do next? Because like us living now, we're trying to attain, a slightly better consciousness
society. Right.
Yeah, but like once you get a 5D, then what's next? Like you're still gonna have that missing void. You're still gonna feel like there's still more to life once you attain that. It's even after an ayahuasca trip, like you still are hungry for more. You're still hungry to attain that oneness feeling. Mm-hmm. And it's not until you're in that oneness are you actually gonna be like settled. Because I feel like that's why we're here on this earth now, is because we were hungry for more. We were in our oneness, but we wanted to explore more. Mm-hmm. And I feel like even if we do achieve the 5D world, we're still going to be hungry for something else. So I feel like a different type of ego is going to come through. Yeah, maybe a more loving ego is going to come through, mm-hmm. but there's still going to be something in the back of our mind that is looking for more.
You just nailed it. The whole point of this whole exercise, you hit it already, and we're only halfway through. Boom. Okay. So yes, we're starting to see that what we have in our 3D society, in our 3D lives, ain't so bad, right? That the reason that we are here is to experience this 3D world exactly as it is, to be challenged, to overcome things, to expand ourselves, to be motivated, to be driven, to be excited, to achieve, to succeed, all that stuff. And if we start to make it too easy on ourselves, then all of a sudden we're going to go, oh, well, what are we going to do now? And let's say we move into the 5D. And then as a human collective, we move to the 7th dimension, and then to the 9th, and then to the 11th. Now we're just like the 9th dimensional Pleiadians. We're just like the 13th dimensional Arcturians. And what do they experience? And we can watch channelings on this all the time. They're experiencing no individuality whatsoever. They are a collective. When one speaks, they all speak. Everything is hunky-dory. Everything is reasonably perfect, yet they want to incarnate as humans. And I think we would do the exact same thing. As we move to 4D, to 5D, to 6, to 7, and on, we'd go, well, this is great. We did it. I want to go back and try to do it again, I think. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, so I think that the truth is that, yes, we want to get to this 5D. And I think that the 4D is going to be even more fun, because it's more of it's rooted in this experience, but yet we're starting to open ourselves up to the possibilities, and there's excitement with that, and we still have all of these negative emotions and positive emotions and ego and all that stuff. So we're like, yeah, this is great. And then all that stuff falls away that we want it to fall away, then we go through this bliss experience, probably, where it's just like, yeah, everything's amazing, woo, we did it, and it's beautiful, and I'm floating through life, and I'm floating through this experience, and I see the self in all, and all are me, and I, and they are all, I am all them, and all that. And this, this incredible, it's called Paramananda. It's a Sanskrit word where you have this unbelievable bliss because you recognize the self in all. But eventually you go, well, now what? Right. So yeah, fantastic. Alternative, okay, I like this. Alternative news outlets that only focus on the positive. Yes, absolutely. So, well, okay, well, here's another counter to that idea, which I really liked at the first blush, but then I also know that we need to experience the negative so we can grow from it, so we can have lessons from it, so we can look at it in a new way. So it's almost like what you're saying is absolutely right when we compare it to the sensationalization that news networks or news outlets or whatever do right now. They're trying to engender fear in everyone. So the new news would say something like, hey, this terrible thing happened, but you know what? That opens us up for this, for that, for these possibilities, for this greatness. And so even though it was terrible for those who were involved, I'm sorry for them and their families or whatever, we do know that we've just learned something incredible, that this will probably, something like this will never happen like this again, so on and so forth. We would spin it in how we would look at it with unconditional love rather than with fear.
Exactly. It's similar to like the weather. Like in the 5D world, the weather will still kind of be the same here in on Earth. So like if hurricanes come through or if big storms, you know, they do a lot of damage to properties and to families. Like it wouldn't be a fear-based thing like, oh, I can't live by the ocean anymore because this is gonna hit me. But it's more of like being more aware of how to prepare for something, or the news would say things like, oh, now we have this group coming in to help with everybody. So I feel like it would just be a different twist on bad events, but more of bringing in the positive aspect of what's to come, and telling people you're gonna be okay, and not just be like, oh, well, fear the water because you're gonna get some sort of infection from it. But it's more of like, hey, be aware that the water may have some contaminants, so please stay away from it. It would be more of like a love-based warning than a fear-based, hey, don't touch the water because you're probably gonna die. Type of thing.
And if we've truly moved into an unconditional love-based mindset, then we're not even going to be attracted to the news media that delivers it through fear. Right now, we're so fear-based that we are attracted like moths to a flame to the negative news because we're trying to figure out how to survive. So bring us all the ways we could die so that we can reconcile that and try to figure out how to survive and try to figure out how to handle it. And if this bad thing happens, then I would do this. And if this bad thing happens, then I would do that. I mean, that's that survival brain. And so that's why we're zeroed in on what all the crap that's wrong so that we can try to avoid it in our own lives. If we are unconditionally love-based, we're not going to want to watch that. It's just not going to resonate with us at all. And we're going to want news that is based on what we just discussed. Okay, so, all right, I want to go back to some more brainstorming of what like that art thing. Like I really get excited about that. That is when we were starting to go down the path of, what would we do now? That I think is the thing that would start to draw us still. Like even if we're in a completely 5D mindset, we would want to create things that would appeal to us in beauty, in interest, in fun, in joy, in experience. So what would some of those things be?
I was just reading one of the comments. But going back to the art thing, it's very similar to what I'm doing now because I paint.
Yeah.
And I'm actually like just trying to listen to my intuition and listen to the guides that come through while I paint. So it's not necessarily what I'm doing, but what I'm listening to put onto the canvas. So I've started to do like these abstracts, and these abstracts, I've never done abstract before. I've never studied art. I don't really know much about color or composition, or I mean, I know a little bit, but not like I've studied it for many, many years. And so what I've been just doing is I'm listening to what color I should use. I'm listening to where I should place it. So it's very similar to doing like a Reiki session on someone where, you're listening for any messages that come through for that person, or when you're trying to read someone. So I'm doing the same thing while I paint. And it's really interesting to see that I'm actually being so filled creatively through doing this process. Because before I would just paint waves, and painting waves was really fun, and it was like, yeah, I love this. This is so much fun. But I feel like this is actually like testing me on a whole new level because I'm actually using, my surroundings. I'm listening. I'm, connecting with my source. I'm connecting with the Andromedans, the Arcturians, whoever's that's like coming through. And there's people that I'm connecting with that I still don't even know who their name is, because I'm like trying to see like, are you this person or this one? They're like, no. I'm like, well, who the hell are you? And I'm like, and they'll just be like, oh, you'll figure it out. So it's like very interesting to like to just like, it's this new puzzle that I'm like creating for myself. So I feel like in the 5D world, there's going to be lots of maybe puzzles that we're trying to figure out that we still aren't aware of, because there's still the 60, the 70, or the 80 that we're trying to attain. So I feel like it would be a different level of like consciousness that you're being intrigued by. And the whole art thing too is just really surrendering to the moment and allowing yourself to create something new, whether it's this huge ginormous sculpture like how you were saying. It's based off of a feeling versus like, I think that's going to look great, like versus like an ego-based decision or a spontaneous decision. It's going to be more like a wholehearted, like I've connected and I feel this is going to change someone's perspective, or it'll help awaken someone in their own way.
Right. But now in a 5D society, then people might not need to be awakened because we would all already be there. But that still doesn't discredit the idea that we would still love the beauty of it. We would still love the experience.
Yeah, we would love it in a different, we would understand it much better than trying to explain it. So there wouldn't be a need for a description for something. It's more like, look at this, and what you feel is exactly the message that you're supposed to get from.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay. And so what about technology? What do you think happens in a 5D society when it comes to technology? If we are really able to kind of communicate to each other telepathically more actively, do we need the internet? Do we need the news to be broadcast? Do we need, what starts to happen to all of that, I wonder?
I feel like there wouldn't really be a need for it, because you wouldn't need to be stimulated by someone. You would be already you would be stimulated by your own self in a way.
This is going to sound like I'm talking sexual, but self-stimulation is, absolutely. And the worlds that you have access to when you are fully capable of brandishing your gifts would be unbelievable. And you could explore universes possibly, potentially inside your own head. And I don't even like to say the word head, because it's probably inside your own multidimensional body or being. So You're right there. And I wonder if we would still want to make spaceships to travel to different planets and so forth. Because if I think
Mhm.
I've been told many times by different channels and Akashic readers that I have been an Andromedan ship captain. So when I had been an Andromedan in my one of my past lives, that I was a spaceship captain. And
Mhm.
so obviously that's a high vibrational collective, and they created spaceships. Supposedly Bashar's civilization, the planet is called Ssani. They have spaceships. So it seems likely that we would still want to physically explore the universe, even
Mhm.
though we might be able to um, energetically or mentally explore the universe just by proverbially closing our eyes and allowing that information to be flooded into ourselves.
Well, I feel like it would also be a different way of creating them too. So it would be more efficient because your vibration is higher and you're not being limited by funding, or you're not being limited
Mm.
by other people telling you, oh, that's impossible to go travel into space. I feel like the
Right.
traveling through Earth would be different too, that it would be much quicker, more efficient, more
Yeah.
eco-friendly, more
Yes.
it would definitely be, you could maybe even teleporting would be a thing.
Yep.
But I feel like it would be a different realm, because right now I feel like cars are being created so that they break down and businesses survive. That,
Right.
you know, you're able to go to a mechanic, the mechanic makes money, and the mechanic isn't going to give you the right stuff. Your car will eventually break down, so that way you keep having to put money into this car. But I feel like maybe in a 5D world, you would have the most perfect car that never breaks down, that has everything. The roads are perfect. There's no more potholes because there's no more for these like useless jobs that need to be done. The environment would just be working as itself in a way, or
Right.
recycling in its way that it's manageable, that you're using the best quality of materials created, but you're
Mhm.
not creating in a form of, oh, this is going to break down soon, so we're going to take people's tax money and
Yep.
rebuild the roads, or we're going to take a year just to just to pave this road for people, or traffic is going to keep forming. So I feel like there would be different resolutions to everything, so that everything works in a more harmonious way, so that way you can focus your attention on creating that better spaceship per se,
Right.
so that way
Yeah.
you can go and travel in different form.
Yeah. So the idea of manifestation being a part of creation. So it wouldn't necessarily be that you would have, workshops with metal workers and cutting things and molding things in a very physical space. It might be even like the greatest manifestors are able to actually kind of like cobble together things through their own spiritual gifts, which is hard for us to even like imagine. But as we get further and further along, then we would be completely capable of doing all kinds of things like that. And so it's probably going to be some sort of combination of being able to do the manifestation and actually pulling on physical things. And then of course I think again of like the ninth dimensional Pleiadians. they're I just don't think they're building anything. They're just there. They're just existing in this other in this world of observation and being heart-centered and all of that. And so there's also a chance that we wouldn't be motivated to do all those things because there's almost no need. And you go, well, why do we even need to fly to other planets, and why do we even need to create all this stuff, and so on and so forth. But here's one for sure. The channeling abilities, we would channel and download all the ways to do stuff without any destruction involved. So if we did, let's say, have to create steel in a steel mill, and there would be waste products from the process, we would have downloaded ways to just eliminate that, or to just dematerialize those waste products so that they wouldn't cause any harm to the earth. Things like that would be so readily available to us, that we wouldn't even need to worry about the destruction of the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that you said, you know, you would be able to channel more without the disruption. Because right now it's really easy to get distracted when you're channeling or when you're trying to channel or if you're trying to develop that skill because your phone is constantly going off or maybe you have children that you have to tend to. There's a lot of distractions that are keeping you away from actually sitting down and tuning into yourself. So I feel like there would definitely in the 5D world, it would just be easier to do that because there would be much less distractions.
Right.
You wrote aliens would visit us.
Yeah, right. Like, couldn't you see that aliens would come and they'd be like, okay, they're ready for us. Yeah, yay. And then they would come down
I feel
and
like it would just be like a friend that's coming by to visit us.
right. Yeah. Yeah. At first year, we'd be like, F yeah, this is amazing. And then be like, oh yeah, it's the Pleiadians or it's the SSanis or whatever. Yeah. And yet, I love this story. So Bashar talked about this in somebody asked a question like, Bashar, if you could just come here, which he says he does, like, if you could just come here and why wouldn't you just land on the planet, introduce yourself to us so that we could have a physical conversation? And he said, well, the problem is that we vibrate so high compared to you that if you saw us in person, then instead of looking at us, your consciousness would be absorbed in us. And then you'd be looking at yourself standing there trying to talk to us. You wouldn't be able to keep your own perspective and consciousness inside your body because we're so powerful, we would just suck it into ours. And now you would be completely confused by what was happening. You'd freak out or whatever because you're not high enough of a vibration. So as we raise in vibration, more and more different types of alien beings would actually be able to be in our presence in this way, in this physical way. And then I go, it might be to the fact that we don't even need to be physical anymore because physical is a 3D characteristic. And the farther up you go and the higher vibrations, then it doesn't even make any sense. Like 3D physical is so primitive that they might not even need to worry about such things.
Just out of curiosity, just to backtrack, is there any 2D or 1D things?
Oh, right.
Animals then? Or
well, I'm gonna sidestep that question because I don't know enough about it. I really haven't studied it. It's interesting because Mateus de blah blah, I forget his last name. I always forget his last name, but it starts with D. He is a guy who talks on Gaia, the Gaia network, all the time. And I've watched a little bit of his stuff, and he has like perfect recollection of his past lives. Like he can just tell you everything about every planet and every experience he's had. And he talks about different planets and he says like, yeah, they're really advanced and they're really high vibe and all that jazz. And it's really boring there. Right. So he's not afraid to say this world's pretty awesome. You shouldn't knock it too much. But he also has talked about the 1D being the source self, which I thought was really interesting because we're always talking about moving to higher vibrational emotions or higher dimensions as opposed to 1D. So that actually kind of confused me. And I haven't done enough studying or researching or channeling or, downloading to really fill that in for myself. So that's as far as I can talk about that.
I've definitely read some books too that saying that when you're here on Earth, sometimes it could be your last lifetime. So I wonder if like 3D is also like a chance for you to truly remember your oneness, and that way you're kind of like done reincarnating, or if this is you to experience other consciousness levels because you just didn't learn exactly what you were supposed to learn just yet.
I feel that neither of those are true. I
Okay.
feel that we intentionally choose whatever we want. And
Mhm.
so we come here because we want to experience this. And like I was saying, the human collective is already on the fifth dimension or the seventh dimension. We've already made it. And if we make it this time, let's say we make it this time and we get to
Mhm.
fifth, we get to the seventh. Once we get to the fifth or the seventh, now time doesn't exist in those dimensions. So time is eliminated, and there's still some time in fifth, but I think there's none in seventh based on my understanding. So,
Mhm.
so in that case, now that means that we've always been in the seventh, right? There is no past where we weren't there because there is no time. So in that way, we would say, all right, either we're going to make it, and so if so, then we've already been there all along, and we've decided to reenact this experience, to have it again, to go through it again and see if we can do it again, or just have the experience, having forgotten that we've already made it, so that we
Mhm.
can enjoy this process. Or we don't actually make it, and there is no seventh dimensional human collective. I don't believe in that one as much as I believe in the other one, that yeah, we've already been there. So some of the ideas that we've made mistakes, and so we have to do it again, or our karma has happened, so we have to do this again, and all that stuff, that is very 3D in its thinking. I
Mhm.
don't feel that makes any sense if we talk about these high vibrational experiences, beings, collectives, and all this, that there would be this, because okay, in order for you to have to come back because you didn't do something right or whatever, that means there's judgment involved. Judgment
Mhm.
is not a high vibrational experience in any form. Source does not judge us. Our higher selves do not judge us. The collectives do not judge us. Our souls do not judge us. There is no judgment unless you are a 3D being. So the idea that there's something you didn't do right, that just doesn't add up. So I don't subscribe to that concept at all. I see us as choosing all of these things, and that's hard for some people because they've had such difficult and painful and suffering experiences here, or they've witnessed it in others, of course, and they go, oh man, there's just no way that anyone would voluntarily sign up for this. Like, that would be crazy for us to do such a thing.
Mhm. So then, I guess then you don't believe in karma? Is that what it sounds like? Or
Yeah, more or less. I mean, there's some karma elements that resonate, but most of it doesn't. Again, because it's a judgment thing, and
Mhm.
and so like I know that we are all source, and I know that it is very easy for us to believe that, to know that, to experience that, to live that. So then you think, okay, so if you die and you're just source again, what about this soul self? What about this higher self? What about my past lives, and this particular
Mhm.
track that I've been on, and I've been, you know, uh, Napoleon in my past life, but I haven't been Hitler or whatever, right? Like, to look at it in that way, those are just stories, and
Yeah.
those are just limited. A less limited view of yourself. The most limited view of yourself is that you are just this biological body with these biological brains, and that is it. And when this biological body perishes, then your consciousness is just gone. So then that is a super limited way to look at it. It could be true, and if you really truly believe that to be true, you could make it true for yourself, because that's how powerful you are. Or you go back one more step. Okay, you are a being that has existed in many of these experiences and many of these past lives on Earth, on other planets, in other dimensions, and all of that, and that is your track. And that is also a true story. Possibly you could look at it that way and say, yeah, that is what I encompass, that is my true me. But that is still a limited view of yourself,
Mhm.
and they're all valid. And then, of course, the unlimited view of yourself is that you are just source, having forgotten that you're source, and having temporarily lost your powers so that you could take this experience seriously.
Mhm. Makes sense. So, I guess religion would be more of a 3D world, because karma stems from the Hinduism type of religion, right?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, religion is very 3D. And one of the biggest ways that it's 3D is that you feel like you have to go to church and listen to this other person who has the access or to God, and that you don't. And so you have to go to someone else. Like that is a classic 3D, experience or belief system.
So the 5D society brainstorm, you can add that, I guess, your own, it's like you have a freedom of belief in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like that is what really narrows it down to, is you wouldn't care for, your next incarnation or the 5D or the 1D or whatever, because you understand your oneness, and in this moment you're just going to live it to the fullest.
Right.
Versus being in a form of lack, or being in a form of, oh, I'd rather have this life or I'd rather have that life. You're truly just understanding that who you are right now is unconditional and perfect.
Perfect. Yep, you got it. Yeah, that's awesome. And really, in the 5D society, the 3D society believes that you have to go to church to hear the word of God. The 4D society says, you know what? I think I can get it. I think I can. And then you sometimes do, and you sometimes don't. And you're like, oh man, I'm pretty sure I'm source. I think I'm source. The 5D is the knowing. You know that you are, and you have access to it fairly easily. And you can keep it in your mind at all times, at all throughout your experience. Whereas now I have my class set alarms to go off every hour during source week for them to remember that they're source. Like, oh, right. Like I got so wrapped up in that thing, I forgot that I'm source. And because we forget that so easily. So to reinforce it and reinforce it. But in the 5th dimensional society, you don't have to set any alarms. You know that you are source at all times, and you take all of your actions are based on that fact.
Yes.
So I like SL's question here. What are your thoughts on astrology, karmic astrology? So astrology, I really do like, and it's very interesting because in astrology, you've got a roadmap of what your life is going to be. You've got a complete roadmap laid out for you where you can go, oh, all right, I'm going to choose this one. It's got addiction issues, and it's got poverty issues, but it's got great love experiences or, romantic experiences. That seems like a good one. And then that's pretty much what your life is, because that astrology, that astrological alignment is almost like a menu that you get to select your character before you come here. Now, and so if that's the case, then you can choose whatever one you want. And at first you might say, well, geez, I would pick the guy or the woman who's rich and who has, no problems at all, and so on and so forth. I just want to live in this bliss-like ecstasy experience. Maybe there's someone like that exists here on this planet. I don't know totally if that's true, but let's say that there is somebody like that. Okay, great. So you do that, and you've already done it. And you're like, that was cool. What else we got? And you get to choose from everyone, and eventually you get to be absolutely everyone and experience absolutely everything, because it is better than that boring place like Mateus was talking about. Everything here is freaking amazing, and in its difficulty and its challenge and its awesomeness and its everything. So yeah, you would choose it all. And if you want, and I don't really know karmic astrology specifically, so I don't know if I can comment very closely to that. But if I were to take those two words and put them together, I can imagine that it's about the astrology that kind of directs your lives or your life based on this karmic judgment. If that's the way that it works, then again, I believe that you're choosing that. And you've chosen, you say, okay, I want to go down a track of lives where karma has an influence on my experience. Okay, so you go through that whole track of lives and you come out of it and you go, oh, that was great. I got to experience all these lives and this judgment and this experience. Do I want to do that again, or do I want to do something else? It's totally up to you.
So freedom of choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in a way, there's no freedom of choice because you're going to do everything. You're just going to do it all. And then you go all the way back and you go, is that what Source wanted? You as Source wanted? Yeah. you want as many of those freaking experiences as possible. There is no punishment. There is no reward. There just is. So let's come here and do all of the stuffs.
I think that's how we should end it, as that.
Oh my gosh, we blew past the hour. I was so into it. I was having so much fun. All right. Thanks, everybody.
You could do whatever it is that you want. I think that's how we should end this podcast.
You can do whatever it is that you want. Yeah.
Wholeheartedly, with unconditional love.
Right. Thanks, everybody, we're like small. Let's be bigger. All right. Thanks, everybody, so much for watching this time. I thought it was lots of fun, of course. I like the brainstorming approach. We might have to do that some more. And let us know what you think. And, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. And we are on Awoken TV as well. So definitely check out awoken.tv. What else could we tell them about? I've got my event coming up in an hour. If you want to attend that, I'll leave a link in the comments. I have a workshop to help people remove negative entity attachments. And then what do you got going on, Monika?
Well, I'm painting more and more. So I'm actually going to be increasing some of my prices next month. So you can still take advantage if you sign up for my email for 20% off your first art order. And then next month, I'm going to be having different prices. So if you want to get something nice for your house, I do all of my energetic paintings, or I put energetic healing energy into my paintings.
Now, they can see that if they go to that MonikaKupiec.com.
Yep, on my website.
Delicious. They'll have to do that.
Delicious.
Yes, absolutely. All right. That's it. We'll see you next week.
Aloha. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.